in this episode.
So just throw out like
Probably
guess.
5-1. 5-1.
You think
No,
5-1?
it's not. It's
Go for it, David.
I know. I don't know. I don't know the exact stat off the top of my head, but I just remember it's mind blowing. I'm bad at memorizing.
All right,
numbers.
you guys ready?
Yeah.
China's shipbuilding capacity for warships and submarines is 230 times the U.S. shipbuilding capacity.
Jeez.
In an obtuse world, Mark and Jefe will combine military, law enforcement, and general FUD knowledge to keep you vertical. Welcome to the Live, Laugh, Larp podcast.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Thanks for swinging by another edition of the Live, Laugh, LARP podcast. We sure do appreciate you guys swinging by and checking things out. We see our analytics growing each and every single time, and that is because of you guys continuing to tune in and listen to us talking to our cans. Jefe is our
Unfortunate
co-host.
Unfortunate.
Always.
Captured again. Down in the basement.
But you
sorts
get
of
free beer.
Yeah, I get two free beers and then
You can have more.
nah, I shouldn't have more because I have to
That's-
drive.
That's
Very
not-
responsible.
Well, I'm sure you got some connections.
No, we don't play that game. Actually, it's worse for me than anybody else. It's actually worse. But no, we're here down at the casting couch again, littered with toys and cats, and that's
Yes.
not euphemisms.
Yep.
And happy to be here.
Yeah, if you hear some rattling in the background, the newest kitten is playing with this little like baby toy thing that has balls in it and whatever, knocks it around.
We need to have like a euphemism counter on somewhere
Right?
on this. We're like 6 deep right now.
I know, right?
A kitten's playing with my balls right now.
Yeah, exactly. So the newest addition to the cat family is Charlie. He's a tiger striped tabby, and I think they call him a Bengal. I guess I don't know.
There's only one cat I know about.
We've called him Charlie after Charlie Day in It's Always Sunny in
Mhm.
Philadelphia because he's retarded. So there you go. But we have to say a huge thank you to XS Site. What a transition, by the way.
Charlie
Talk
Day
about
to
from
XS
cats
Sites.
to sites.
If you need new sites for your cat,
I know, right? Have you seen that reel going around where the dude is like a vet bro and he's got the cat shoulder?
yeah,
like,
yeah. I went on a Bumble date with a Marine, and he's
yeah.
room clearing with my cat.
I
Not a
prefer the high
euphemism.
ready.
So
But needless to say, we want to say a huge thank you to XS Sites. As always, we have, or they have, rather, not we, I'm not a part of them, but they have options for your revolvers, for your Glocks, or your Walther PDPs, for your lever guns, for your MP5s, AR-15s, and AK-47s. If they don't have it, I would say you probably don't need it.
that's a fair assessment.
I
Yeah.
think so. But if you guys want to score some XS Sites and save some money, you can do so by using the code LARP. That's LARP. It'll save you 20% on your next order, anything you order. I think that's pretty awesome. We don't get a kickback from that.
Nope, no kickbacks on our end.
It's just XS Sites saying thank you for sponsoring us, I guess.
Thank you for listening to
Yeah,
us
there-
ramble
there
into
you go.
the nethers that is the dead internet.
Are we going to talk about dead internet theory?
Hopefully we do. It's always fun to talk about dead internet theory, especially as we talk into the internet.
Yeah, exactly. The dead internet is it. But much like we did in the last episode where we had the Carry Handle podcast guys,
Mhm.
we had a couple guys on.
We got a 4-way again.
We got a
boys.
four-way again.
4 dudes.
It's a double four-way. Is that an 8-way?
4 dudes, one podcast. First,
4 dudes, 1 podcast. That's right.
so returning to us from the great Northeast, we have Ryan Hamre again. Ryan, how you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on again.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then we also got Dave from K9 Defense
Yep, Canine Defense Technologies.
Technologies. So gentlemen, let's start with Dave because everyone should know Hamre by now if you've been paying attention at all to our podcast. But Dave, who are you? What do you do?
Hey, so I'm David Hahn Jr. I'm the founder of Canine Defense Technologies. We are a hardware-first defense technology startup based here in Huntsville, Alabama. We serve a wide range of customers from military, law enforcement to serious civilians. We build tactical drones, American drones.
All 100% American made.
We'll get into that later.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually the probably the title of the podcast. And then also, Ryan, how are you doing? Who are you and what do you do?
Hey, my name is Ryan Hamre. As I was introduced, I am the president and CEO of Hamre Forge, and we produce right now a lot of revolver grips, but we're kind of open to all kinds of stuff. And actually, that's how I know David is we do some production work for David with some of the drones and some of the parts that he's using.
So how for those who are like, hey, how did this all come to be? So this happened like several weeks ago. Station 9, the knife maker company, the French knife purchaser company, I don't know how we explain them, posted this thing about, it was a comment about how why their knives are made in China, and they had a whole spiel about it's like a third of the cost.
Dude, I have it up.
Oh yeah, pull it up, please. I don't have it.
I have it up right now. So Station 9, they made a post, highlighting their products like they always do. They have some really cool knife designs and different defense products. And I think, it's a snarky rando on the internet was like, why are they made in China? And I think Station 9 really responded with kind of a lot of truth. He said, because the final product is as good as if it was made in the USA, but for 1/3 the cost, 1/3 of the production time, 1/3 of the aggravation, and 1/3 of the pretentiousness. And so, Jefe, you sent that to me, and you're like, I hate to see it. And dude, me too. Like, I hate to see it. And I'm like, but he's right. So I said, man, if you want to do a podcast, I think that's what we should talk about. And I kind of pitched to have David on because he is really in the thick of this, and that's near and dear to his heart as well.
Yeah, so we'll get deep into the weeds of that because I think all of us have opinions on it, and I know mine's correct. So actually, then that's about it. Thank you guys so much for listening to us.
Well, I will jump in on this one real quick because I was just about laid off because of this very subject. Luckily, in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs, getting ready to score the final touchdown of the game, a subsidiary of the main corporation came in and bought the facility that they were closing down. Why were they closing down the facility? It was because production costs were exorbitantly high. Not only were we purchasing things from overseas to bring them here to build, but then we were turning around and then exporting them back out of the country. So there was a lot of cost tied up into this one facility. And they're like, we've already got suppliers set up around the world. We don't need this one facility anymore. We'll just shut it down. And that was going to put, about 300 employees out of work immediately. But luckily for us, we had the opportunity to save a lot of those employees when a subsidiary decided, hey, you know what? We could really use another facility in the central part of the United States. And they came in and bought the facility out from under some local companies that were going to buy it. Kind of upset some people, but but
that's politics.
Yeah, exactly. And so in my role, I have to deal with price versus cost, and I have to do margin analysis to find out if we're going to be profitable. I've got to determine what source the material is going to be coming from in order for me to get the correct cost. So I'm in these numbers all the time. So when I see something like this pop up, I'm just like, yeah, that tracks. So I don't really get bent out of the shape about buy American, it's got to be American, because I already know, like, hey guys, Trigicon, they say that they're made in America, but you should call their customer service line and ask them where their electronics come from, because I bet you it's not America.
So Mark, I did not know that background, that this was like hitting close to home for you as well. Like you were saying, like, some of the costs are high and stuff. And I'm curious, like, what some of those costs are when you're talking about material prices. What are some of those materials that you're working with, if you're able to share that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. The biggest thing
They don't
is
listen to the podcast anyways.
I know they don't care about me. It is raw steel,
Much like our wives.
Yeah, I don't know. Didn't
Nan called me out about that last one. But we'll get into that later.
Raw steel is one of the biggest things, and I can tell you that for some of the things that we produce here in the United States, whatever it is that we can produce here in the United States from my company, China can do it a third the cost, and that includes shipping it to the United States. So they just, I hate to say it, man, it's just a fact of life. China just absolutely eats our lunch when it comes to industry because of the different regulations that we've put in place in the United States to prevent us from doing X, Y, or Z. And yeah, man, it's raw steel is where it starts, but it balloons out from there pretty quickly.
And so, first of all, outside of, ordering a million things off of Amazon, I have no dog in this fight. If my job ever got replaced by, oh, hello, kitty. If my job ever got outsourced to foreign investors, then
that'd be cool.
We're in a Red Dawn situation, and
know,
no one would like that.
They would be wearing the blue hat.
Wolverine.
Yeah. There would be people bragging about the blue helmet collection. But so this is just my hot take on it. I absolutely believe that while yes, it is easier to buy stuff cheaper made from China. I know we're talking like this is being recorded on a MacBook right now with I don't even know what software shit and all this hardware we got, and I'm on my phone right now, and all this is made in China, and it's affordable because we can purchase it from there. But then like the I guess the moral compass of it, it's the reason why we can afford it and why it's cheaper is because of essentially slave labor over there, where a human here in the United States is like, hey, I need X amount of dollars, I need health insurance, I need certain labor hours, I need to have a quality of life to uphold, and I want to do that while working this job. In China, they say, well, this is your job, and if you don't like it, then we will murder you. So it's that, yes, you can get it for a third of the price, but it's not better for humanity as a whole. And then part two of it is now we are ruining our culture around manufacturing. I kind of steal this, and I kind of steal this from like Tim Pool's like ideology about skateboards is, it's if you send all the stuff off to, let's say he's a skateboards, but you can use any sort of thing. If we send all the manufacturing off to China, no one around here is building culture around whatever the product is. For example, if we were talking about gun parts, or we're talking about whatever hobby you like, half the reason the hobby or the sport exists is because people work in that industry stateside, build families and for support structure around that system, and then or that sport or hobby, and it continues to grow as time goes on. Instead, it gets shipped up to China. There's no families built around the support of that sport or interest or hobby, and then eventually it just dies out because it's like, if you like it, cool, I can go to Amazon, buy whatever tool implement for that sport is for $25, try it out for a bit, and have no investment in it. So we're not building a culture around things. We're just essentially using it as a quick dopamine hit and move on to the next thing, which I'm probably the most guilty person in the room for doing. So,
speaking of which, how's that Glock Flux Raider working?
Oh, not great. It already broke. So
I wanted to quickly pitch in something.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, please, man.
I have a ton of hot takes on China. I see them as like a foreign adversary, and I try in any way possible not to offshore every dollar I have to them. But there's some things that I unintentionally do. That's just the state of our economy right now.
Yep.
I hear the labor so I have met people in the West, in the US, who are completely pro China, almost like CCP supremacists. Like
Oh,
they
yeah.
think that everyone in America is going to speak Chinese in the next century.
Yeah.
Like I disagree with that. But I used to use the labor argument a lot. Like they have child labor, they have slave labor. And I did see that break apart when it's like, okay, there are other third world countries with complete slave labor that upholds their whole economy that actually doesn't scale. And it's like there's actually deeper roots to there where there's actually like government intervention. It's an actual like I guess I'm not trying to say I have a larger global perspective, but the way I see it at is this is like a outright hot economic war where the Chinese government has put incentives, has thrown money into the problem where basically no one could compete with them, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's just like machining costs in China is cheaper than the raw material costs in basically anywhere else in the world. Like
Yeah.
a full part machined shipped to you is cheaper than if you bought a billet of that material for certain metal types and certain machining jobs, which is
Mhm.
basically economically impossible.
Mhm. Because it's all government subsidized. It's a one unified China movement into either being and I'm not going to act like I'm a expert in Chinese governance, or this is the observations from a guy that lives in Kansas. But the whole premise is we are willing to take whatever hits possible to become an economic powerhouse, and so there's a global reliance on us, and then so we can use that to leverage and essentially weaken people that we don't like. If you look at China's One Belt One Road initiative, a lot of their strategy is going to lesser developed countries, offer budgeting and financing, and offer infrastructure packages to help developing countries, and then essentially bankrupt them and steal essentially bankrupt them and take advantage of like mineral rights or natural resources or whatever they can, or even even the population labor, just to increase their economic power. Like it's a strategy of it. And I'm not saying the US has any better. We have the CIA, and we used to have USAID and things like that. So it's a global economic conflict. Cold War maybe is a good way to describe it, that China just has a better strategy than most others.
I think with what you just said, both David and Hefe, it's almost like China has adopted the not the Barnes and Noble, the Amazon model. Amazon, when they first came out, all the bookstores were like, how are they selling these books at this low cost? They're selling it at lower than or cheaper than the book actually costs.
Yeah.
And it's hurting our brick and mortar stores. And so now it's like, when was the last time you were in a Barnes and Noble or saw a Barnes and Noble? It's like not a thing anymore, even though there are some around. I actually never see them anymore. And we're in the situation where it's like America is Barnes and Noble, and China's Amazon right now. And so it's like we have to figure out how to compete with Amazon or we lose. And I've been trying to think of like what the problem statement is here, and what we're trying to like accomplish, or why it matters to onshore stuff and all that. And so I was pulling up some data and some figures and stuff. China's shipbuilding capacity, so for warships and submarines, so they can produce more warships and submarines than the U.S. can in a year right now. Are you guys aware with what the stat is?
I'm not the exact stat, no, but
so just throw out a
Probably
guess.
5-1. 5-1.
You think
No,
5-1?
it's not. It's
Go for it, David.
I know. I don't know. I don't know the exact stat off the top of my head, but I just remember it's mind blowing. I'm bad at memorizing.
All right,
numbers.
you guys ready?
Yeah.
China's shipbuilding capacity for warships and submarines is 230 times the U.S. shipbuilding capacity.
that's crazy.
Jeez.
So
amazing.
That's a couple.
Yeah, in 1943, the U.S. built 18,000 ships in a year. In 2023, we built 8. And then I was talking with a worker who works at Bath Iron Works. That's a shipyard here in Maine. They still build warships. They had a contract to build a ship, and then there was like another naval yard to build another ship. The other naval yard wasn't actually even able to build or deliver the ship. Bath Iron Works here in Maine was able to build it and deliver it, although it was late. So it's like we're limping along, and China's just able to spit out ships. And we don't even have the steel, let alone the machines that can produce it, or the technical know-how or the desire from a people perspective to even build these things. So I think that's kind of a problem. And I think solving some of that would be to start domesticating some of our production of stuff. And we can put all kinds of things into that bucket of stuff. And, I think that's some of the questions I want to ask David as well.
Or we could just annex Greenland and, that'll solve all of our
Well,
problems.
so this is my skepticism right now. How do they define a warship? If I make a Zodiac with a Mark 19, is that considered a warship? It would be interesting to say, like, if we can make, like, if China's making like class 3 frigates, 200 times faster than the U.S. can, then that's probably, I don't know anything about.
Well,
that's like class 3 frigates.
Well, this is a scary thing about.
But
so, just to interject real quick, the scary thing about the stat that Ryan just shared is that that's just their actual warship production. China. So this is kind of more into China's culture and like their ideology, which is they have like a very militaristic mindset, like a nationalistic, militaristic like machine, sort of, where their entire workforce is kind of indoctrinated into that. So every ship they build, like commercial ships, have to be built to military specifications. So like they got to be able to load tanks, they got to be able to load certain amount of soldiers and like survive like certain amount of explosions at this like there's just crazy specifications that don't apply to any normal commercial ship, because like they're set on global domination, and that their people are kind of forced into that, and they built their whole economy around it. And like I like to explain to people, like, China's basically like the ideology of North Korea with weaponized capitalism, and they're just building a super state.
That's good.
And the technology and the know-how and the funds.
Well, and it's
go ahead.
I would say it's on top of that. It's the what do they call it? Intellectual property theft that comes out of it. It's like, hey, we send all. It just blows my mind. It's like, hey, let's send all our all our schematics for all this like high tech stuff to China for production, and they're like, cool, I'll just go copy that file, walk over to this factory over here and build it, and call it, instead of Trijicon, call it Rigeron.
Well, yeah, but who else is going to make it?
That's the problem. That's I think the inherent problem that we run into is but go ahead. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so America always held an edge over China on one thing, which is IP. So China so people think China just suddenly exploded into this economic superpower, but it's been a very long-term process. Yep. And we could get into that, but I probably won't. But basically the U.S. in its nation-building activities made the wrong bet, assuming China was going to be a democracy.
Yep, with the Shanghai project or whatever.
Yeah, huge screw up. But it's like China played the long game, and then they really played it out. I like to explain to people, like, they saw where the Soviet Union failed, and then they weaponized the good parts of what made the U.S. win the Cold War, essentially. But like in regards to IP, there's things that, like, the 1,000 talent program, which was like, okay, we don't essentially have to have a ton of spies flood the U.S. We just have to have our people study there. And eventually, over many decades, like, our IP knowledge will increase. After the 1,000 Talents program, the amount of patents that China alone published went up 1,000%, which is absolutely insane. So they captured the industry, and then they slowly captured the IP. And kind of where I want to kind of ask everyone is, what what do you think caused America to be in this kind of I'd like to be optimistic, temporary decline?
Well, so kind of going back to your illusion I'll just go over quickly the history behind it. So it was like, I can't remember, it was like the 70s or 80s, where essentially the US, the UK, and China came to agreement to have Shanghai be like a capitalist society and have free trade with the world, because China was shutting doors for all global trade. And then essentially Shanghai just blew up, and then it was like 10-15 years ago, essentially it was supposed to act as its own separate state on the global economy, away from the Communist Party. And then eventually the Communist Party is just like, no, we're just going to take this back. And now it all plugs into our system. And that's part of the problem. But I think the biggest decline is when we started outsourcing our either IP, our economic might to other countries, and power of the petrodollar. That's my hot take, I guess.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I see is, I can remember back. I'm old enough to remember when everybody was concerned about Japan, and Japan taking over markets within the United States because of how their electronics was just flooding the U.S. markets and stuff like that. And then now that I have been in a day job that is manufacturing, and being in the 2A environment for the YouTube stuff, and understanding how business works outside of a classroom, the thing that I would point out is, I agree with what David said with the amount of people that they sent to the United States to study, to increase their IP, but there's also a high level of thievery when it comes to IP as well, that China just takes, and there's no recourse for us to fight back against that. Prime example is, and this is kind of off topic somewhat, but Missouri, the state of Missouri, just sued China, and they won the case. Why did they win the case? Well, it's because China didn't show up. So Missouri won a case against China, but there's no teeth to it. It doesn't actually do anything. So
Tiger.
Yeah, exactly. So, you have a nation such as China who is advancing quite quickly. The industry that I work for on a daily basis, we see that they have essentially taken our equipment, allowed us to send it into their country to sell it, and then all of a sudden they're like, we don't need these anymore. We have our own. I can't imagine where they got the idea to build an excavator, that looks remarkably like ours and does a lot of the same things.
You talking about Siani?
I believe that's the name of the company. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is, I'm not trying to diminish the Chinese ability to create something, on their own. But I also have seen time and time again, and something that we talk about in a lot of our new product introduction meetings that I'm in, is how are we safeguarding our intellectual properties? And it's like a security thing. It's like, it's almost, I have to take annual classes, like in the military. You have to take like, what are some of the classes you have to take in the military, Jefe, every year?
Sharp, EO.
Yeah. Like,
they actually kind of got rid of a bunch of that stuff.
But you have like physical security. You've got like,
no, that's not a thing anymore, really.
Don't open PDFs in emails from people you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. Online security, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
We have to take similar classes that dive into those types of things of, make sure that we are safeguarding our IP, and this is how you safeguard it, and so on and so forth. And so, so I think from my perspective, I see it both ways. China's able to do it on their own, but they're also stealing our technology to create their own as well. So just copying our homework.
So
It's funny,
David.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I was just about to say a quick joke, which is it's funny that you mentioned how if you played a legal game with China, they don't care. And I always like to make the joke that China's kind of the best of all worlds on the political spectrum, which is that the government is like totalitarian and it's like weaponized the law and force their people to build in a certain way, but yet they also deregulated everything that we regulate in the US. So they like pollute all they want and build everything they want. They go crazy. They steal IP and no one enforces it. So it's like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's like
absolutely.
Just one last thing, Ryan, is the prime example is the Paris Accords. The Paris Accords for climate change said that the United States and Europe had to be net zero by, I don't know, 2020 or something like that. And we surpassed that. But for whatever reason, India and China, they got a 10-year hold on any type of updates to or anything that they had to do to bring themselves down to net zero. So
Yeah,
why
we need our Amazon Prime.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. But that's it runs into one of those situations where it's like, okay, we complain about China being some of the world's worst polluters, and India as well, yet they don't have to meet the standards for another 10 years, and we have to do it immediately. Which is one of the reasons why Trump, when he was elected the first time, he's like, nah, we're out. If you guys aren't going to play the game, we're not going to play it either. So anyway, that's my little.
Well, I mean, realistically, if they were to abide by the Paris Accord, then the world economy would shut down. I mean, we wouldn't get our motors, we wouldn't get the gears, we wouldn't get the titanium, we wouldn't get the electronics. So it's almost like the world is beholden to their pollution.
Yeah, I see that, but there's a part of me, the chaotic side of my brain is like, maybe we should just go ahead and hit that reset button.
Dude, you're 100% correct.
My contrarian take, just to quickly add there, is that if you let's say you did completely shut China, like the global economy down, China will not survive like that long. Right.
Correct.
Like that fear mongering, oh my gosh, if we cut China's supply, the whole world economy is going to suffer. Yes, it will suffer, but it's kind of like the last man standing survive, like wins kind of in that long run battle. China's taking the gamble that everyone's going to get down on their knees to them constantly. Things like the current tariff and things like that, it's painful for our economy. Economically, it's actually bad for the domestic economy, but in the long run, the bet on the current administration side is that this is actually hurting China, and the stats do show that it did significantly hurt them. So when you made the joke of like, oh, we should just like go nuclear, shut it all down, like that actually could work. Probably a lot of people will die. Things will be bad, but China will not survive if you do that.
Yeah, it's one of those things that and this is one of the things that you've seen with the current administration, is that you see this huge pushback against tariffs because we have become so accustomed for so long living in such a manner that people can't wrap their heads around, what if we did it differently? What if we went this way? I mean, history tells us that in the 1800s, prior to the Civil War, when we were actually using tariffs in the way that they were supposed to be used, we didn't have a debt. We paid off all of our debts, and we were capable of doing that up until 1914. And then all of a sudden things change. I can't imagine what happened in 1914 to get us into such a situation.
I think, David, your question, about this possibly being a temporary decline, I jokingly wrote in the chat, because you asked when or how this started. I jokingly wrote Lincoln winning the Civil War. But there's a vein of truth to that, because I think ever since kind of the federal government was very centralized and states kind of lost a lot of state power, states and then institutions within states started abdicating their duties. And so I think what we're seeing now is really just our culture abdicating duties. So a lot of people will think like, why do I need to make chairs in my wood shop when I can have, some other country manufacture these chairs and I'll just import them. And basically you become a drop shipping company and you're like abdicating the manufacturing of a thing, or you're abdicating productive labor. And so as America has turned into that, we've just given up all of the production of anything. And then we rely on our brains to think up IP. And so then all we have in our pocket is IP, where it used to be not only did we have the IP, but we had the ability to produce the thing. So we had a corner on the market. Like we had the idea and we could produce the idea. But, for the last 50, 60 years, we haven't really been in the have the idea and produce it game. And it's only accelerated as we've been offshoring all of the production of everything that we have in America.
I think it's because our culture shifted to a consumerism mindset.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's where, like, I guess I work in the defense industry. So, like, my mindset goes to, like, warfare, right? Which is not something most normal people think about, but I see everything in the long run, like the war game. And in that sense, I always see, like, okay, every dollar we spend outside the US is effectively offshoring that value. I know most people don't see it that way, but I was on another kind of conversation on this, another public discourse on this, and then my hot take there was that America was like a superpower during the Cold War because we had that common enemy, and even the everyday person kind of always had that in their mind. I mean, we could argue it was also a byproduct of government propaganda and other external factors, but everyone was thinking, okay, every screw I turn, every like time I go to my day job to build something, to design something, it puts our country a step forward ahead of the Soviets. Like there was that heavy sentiment. And now it's almost like people don't feel that there is a adversary, that there is great power conflict happening. I mean, for a while before we had the Russia-Ukraine war and a lot of the Middle Eastern warfare was kind of settling down, like you had things where people explored the concept of this is the I forgot what they call it, the end of wars. Like there was like all these concepts in the institutions that, oh my gosh, as technology increases, we'll reach a state where everyone's so satisfied there's going to be no more warfare. And like I feel like the majority of the general population lost sort of that fear and that common punching bag, and that kind of all aggregates into a slow temporary decline.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, you brought up the every dollar you send outside the US is like kind of it's funding the enemy. I mean, in many ways, I'm in a position where I am financially and from a business perspective, I have to, in a sense, send dollars outside the US. And I think you're in a similar position. And, Mark, I think the company you're in, with what you said, you're in a similar position. Yeah, it would be irresponsible for me to try to spend it here.
Yeah, I will tell you that the company that I work for and the division that I was managing pricing for, as of the end of this year, no product that my company sells will be made in the United States. It'll either be made in China, the Netherlands, or Mexico. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Nothing will be made in the United States anymore, which is really sad. But and the other thing too, I think one of the reasons that kind of forced us into this, piece, and this is going to be a very tight rope that I have to walk here, but moving back to the 70s and 80s, once corporations started to exert more and more control over the landscape of how they were able to shape things in the United States, they started to see that, oh, well, I mean, if we just send this to Mexico or Canada or wherever and allow them to build it for us, we can increase our profit margin, which then exponentially raise that graph on profits over quality in some cases, which then feeds that what's the term you guys just used, the consumerism type of lifestyle that we're in. I mean, just think about things. I know this is so cliche, but think about your grandma's refrigerator. I bet that if your grandmother hadn't passed away and the estate sale hadn't come through and sold off everything, if you had inherited that refrigerator from 1968, it'd still be running today, more than likely. I can tell you that. Here's a prime example. My girlfriend has her mom's car that she drove to school every single day, and it's a 1949 Chevy Deluxe, and it still runs today. Now, my girlfriend can't drive it because she doesn't know how to drive a manual, but we take it out every once in a while, and yeah, it's still all original, still runs. There's some TLC that needs, but it's the cliche of things were built different back in the day because we weren't a consumerism type of economy coming out of the Depression and all the hard lessons that we learned through the 1930s and 40s. We wanted to make sure that things lasted for a very, very long time. And then it got to a point where, well, we can make things easier. Plastics became faster and cheaper to produce. And those things could be easily replaced, and it was cheap to replace them. So, that's kind of another cog in that whole machine that is kind of fueling this, as David says, temporary decline.
Yeah. On the car, you brought up the car. There's this whole situation where guys talk about building toasters. Are you familiar with that?
Go ahead.
Well, I mean,
pretend I'm not.
Yeah, and engineers or people discussing these sorts of things kind of talk about how we've lost the ability to build a toaster. And so it's like, if you look at what's involved in building a toaster, you have to have some type of heating element, you have to have some type of spring mechanism, you have to have some electronics within it, you have to have screws. And so it's like, you might be able to build one, maybe. Are you going to be able to build it from scratch? That's going to be difficult. We used to build a toaster from scratch.
Yeah.
And then it's like, then how would you take and do a factory building a toaster? And so when you start to look at what the cost of the toaster would be, like build it in America, I think it's like a couple $100, maybe even $1,000. It's like a lot of money to build a toaster, even if you had a factory doing it here in the US. Whereas, all those Chinese toasters that you're able to buy, it's, $15, $30, $49, and so it's interesting. I mean, we just can't build basic things anymore. With that, I did have a note on here about a titanium screw that we use in our AFRUC, but that opens up even the broader conversation of we can't even build screws in America. We're not even competitive to make a screw. And that's a pretty basic building block of our society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Manufacturing was a building block, like you said, of our society for a very, very long time. And it's going to come to a head one way or the other. We're going to have to pull ourselves out of this hole, regardless if it is some type of kinetic warfare that requires us to source material in our own country, which the United States is a very mineral rich country. We just have so many different regulations We can't dig it,
Here's my hot
Yeah.
take on that. Actually,
Yeah.
we know we are mineral rich. We're just waiting for everyone to run out of their own shits, and then we're top dog again.
I mean,
That's it's the let everyone else burn out their resources, and then when the way I'm going to explain it is the hot movie from 1978 called Ice Pirates, and if you haven't seen it,
oh yeah,
it's well worth a watch, especially get drunk. Watch it drunk and then watch it sober. But essentially, it's one planet in a galaxy that has control of all water because it's just a planet of ice, and they regulate it, and they're the universal power. Like it's a budget. It's a knockoff Star Wars, but
man, I gotta look that up now.
It's
been a minute since I've seen that.
it's the long con of here in the next couple hundred, maybe in 400 years, when everyone else has no oil, no iron, no uranium, no nothing, and then U.S. is like, okay, now we can start opening up our reserves for all that stuff, and then we're going to be top dog or get invaded by everybody and play like a really weird 20v1 death match.
Incidentally, the Ice Pirates is from 1984.
Oh, 84. Okay.
Yep. And it stars Robert Urich, Mary Crosby, Michael D. Roberts, and Alicia Hudson.
A very trippy movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Gen Z, so I don't know any of those actors.
Oh, well, you know who Ron Pullman is, don't you?
No, I don't. I'm also not cultured.
Oh, well, he's the actor who played Hellboy.
I don't even know what Hellboy is.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But
have you seen The Goonies?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So Sloth, the actor that plays Sloth, he's in it. So that's your incentive to go see it.
It's
now.
okay, Dave. You probably know more about more important things than our it's that, while you guys were watching movies, I was studying the blade.
Studying drones and supply chain.
Yeah, and that's probably going to do you a lot better than, I know this actor from this movie.
Quick
So
thing though is,
what's up?
I just wanted to add that that's why I would still bet on America in the long run.
Yes.
Yeah, like it's like even in a nuclear winter, I think the highest chance of survival is still here. That's another hot take I have.
Oh yeah. Have you ever seen The Road? Yeah, we definitely win. or the Book of Eli. Take any post-apocalypse thing. It's never like in Germany or Romania or Russia. It's all U.S. Central U.S. based.
The Road is such a depressing book. Oh.
It is okay. We're gonna go on this tangent. McCarthy is have you guys ever read Blood Meridian or The Road? Read the book?
So I'm a big time McCarthy fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
I fucking hate how he writes though.
If you read it, yeah.
Yeah, if you read it, it reads like, like a fucking fifth grader wrote it, because there's no punctuation. It's like all these run-on sentences. There's no grammatical structure, whatever. Like an entire conversation, you have no idea who's saying what, so you have to read it like 6 or 7 times and just go off context clues.
You know why, right?
Because he probably doesn't know how to write.
No,
I don't know why. I really don't.
He typed everything out on like an old school mechanical typewriter, like on his bed. He'd like literally sit on his bed with his typewriter on his bed, and he's just like banging out these novels.
Typewriters have periods and quotation marks on it, and
even semicolons.
We said
sometimes you just got to let the words flow.
Mike said,
once you get in
I
that
don't
flow
like you.
state,
New paragraph.
I'm
I
embarrassed.
don't care, said Mark.
I'm embarrassed to say this, but my younger sister has a typewriter. She likes it. I couldn't even use it proper. I don't think I can write a proper sentence in it. You just have to like cog it back the right way, and then like you have to hit it with the right pressure. So if you wrote a whole book with that, mad respect.
Yeah, multiple books, a lot of books. Yeah,
Lots of books. He wrote a lot of books, and then I think it was his son is also a musician that has some good bangers.
Yeah, no, he's
they're good reads.
He's a good throwback.
Good reads. I highly suggest at least reading The Road. You can. I never seen the movie with Viggo Mortensen, but I don't know how it
It was
is
okay.
to the book, but book's a really good
actually,
read.
Actually, pretty close. I think there is a little bit difference. It's been a long time since I've seen the movie since I listened to the book. I did listen to The Road on audiobook, but it seemed to be fairly close, I thought.
My only when I read it, all I could think of the entire time was it was one of those things. Like, I know about McCarthy's about his writing style, so I was like, oh, this is written from the perspective of the boy after the fact, and he was never taught how to write English proper. So it's like 40 chess stuff, and nope, the guy just wrote it like shit. So
I tell people to always start if they want to get into McCarthy, is to start with the Border trilogy series, which is a really cool kind of series. It's basically right as we're switching from kind of Wild West towards industrial age and kind of the death of the cowboys. So like that's a really good series. So I tell people to start with the Border trilogy series and then end with Blood Meridian. Because if you start with Blood Meridian, you're like, I don't know if I'm ever going to read anything from him again. Or you might just jump right into everything he wrote.
Say Blood Meridian's one of those. That's a litmus test. If you like it,
yeah,
probably something wrong with you, but
yeah. So,
anyways, yes, if you live in the U.S., you'll probably survive nuclear winter. I think that's where we got onto McCarthy.
Yeah. So,
probably because we have a lot of guns too. Come to think of it.
Yeah.
How do we? I mean, we talked about tariffs. So even with the tariffs, it really hasn't disincentivized a lot of what I'm buying from China, because even with tariffs, the price from China is still a third or more the cost of buying domestically. So if tariffs don't fix it alone, what's kind of our path out of this mess?
So I would say for me, the two things we need to focus on is one, the tariffs unfortunately are going to be a administration, like a single administration, unless conservatives who have very similar mindsets win presidency, Congress, Senate in the future. It's going to be like a 3.5 year, maybe even like 2 year tariff, and then if there's a changeover of power, they all go away. So it's like it's not a long-term fix. It's a very short-term fix for a long-term problem. What needs it, I think, what has to happen is whether it be I don't want to sound like socialist, but either subsidization from the government onto bringing back manufacturing in the U.S., whether it be through tariffs, whether it be through incentives, whether it be through just straight pressure from whatever organizations you want to get involved with it. And part two is just going to take time. I know, for example, here in Kansas, the Sunflower Munitions Depot. Well, it was like one of the biggest ammunition manufacturers for the longest time during I think it was during World War II, a huge manufacturing plant for ammunition. It's been shut down. It's abandoned for the past probably 30 years. That just got bought out by people who are going to come here and make microchips. So it's going to be one of those. It's going to take 5, 10, 15 years for the infrastructure to even come back to be competitive again. So in that meantime, we need to switch our culture. We need to switch, continue tariffing outside companies. So there's an action incentive. And then two, we need to switch our economy base. I know we already talked a little bit about it, but I want to throw another hot take is outside of consumerism, our entire economy base is it's an attention economy. Most of our a lot of people aren't aspiring to be plumbers, electricians, military, law enforcement. Say whatever you want. Well, if you talk to kids these days, they want to be YouTube influencers. They want to be pro streamers. They want to have the attention economy where you make money. Yeah, podcaster. Yeah, it's ironic. We're on a podcast. There's one guy sitting right here that hasn't.
I don't know. So I hear that a lot. Like, oh, the U.S. has now shifted to an attention-based economy. But then pre-show we were like joking about the dead internet theory, but I kind of often think that like are people online kind of like in their own bubble, because if you look at the widespread US economy like as a number, it's such a big machine that the actual attention economy is still a small sliver of it, right?
It's a small sliver, but it's a booming sliver. Like if
I
you would have
see.
said, 10 years ago, hey, 18-year-old girl, you could sell your nudes online and be living in LA with a $2 million mansion and driving a Lamborghini based off of selling, nudies. People will say you're crazy. Like, there was like some of that's kind of going on, but it wasn't, a profitable business. Now you have these OnlyFans models talking about, I bought my third, mansion. I have like 6 Lambos.
Yep.
You have, people that do just clickbaity YouTube stuff. Mr. Beast is a great example as well. Like it's a microcosm, but it's come to a point where if you would have gone back to like when Nut and Fancy and, when YouTube first started off saying, hey, you can make, millions, if not, billions of dollars making YouTube videos, people would have looked at you like you're an idiot. Now here we are. It's like probably if you polled any kid about, from the age of 10 to 18, say, hey, what would you want to be when you grow up? A lot of it's like pro streamer. I want to be a YouTuber. I want to be, be into this economy. So we're going to set up ourselves for failure, because here the next generation is already half the size of our current generation. I think it was like 40 million Gen Zers or Gen Xers. I can't remember which one it is, but it's like if you look at Gen Z, millennials, about 80 million people, and then Gen Z and X are like only 40 million.
So I'm X, you're millennial, then it's Gen Z.
Z, sorry, I'm getting my gens mixed up.
It's Gen Alpha.
Yeah, Gen Z and Gen Alpha are seriously dwindling due to like a population crisis. Now all those people want to do is be OnlyFans models or Twitch streamers.
Yeah, and to exacerbate things too is we have a dwindling population. We have this attention getting segment of the industry, or how to make money anyway. And
anyways, follow Access Sites, and these are
don't forget the Fit and Fire YouTube channel. But then you also have individuals who are not backfilling the trades, such as plumbers, electricians, HVAC, line servicemen. Those types of people who we're going to desperately need here in the next.
I want to actually bring that up. So this I don't know. It's a sample size of one, and it's an anecdotal story. About 2 or 3 months ago, my hot water heater, electric water heater, went out of my house. And it was one of those. My wife tells me, "Hey, I have no hot water in the house," and I called 3 plumbing companies, and before they were like, "Hey, we're super swamped. To even come out to your house to look at it, it was going to cost me $300 for like an emergency fee." And then I just explained kind of what's going on, and they were quoting me anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 for them to come out and replace a single hot water heater.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah. So then I went out and did it for myself for like $400.
Then on top of that, you have individuals, and this is where it even gets weirder and worse. Once you start going down this rabbit hole, is you have a lot of these companies, such as plumbers or electricians, some of these people who we need on a daily basis to fix hot water heaters or whatever the case may be. They're typically, these companies are what? These are like mom and pop shops, or they're going to be locally owned businesses.
Yeah.
But turns out in some locales, that's not even the case anymore. Some investors are coming in and they're buying these small businesses, such as plumbers, paying them to retain the name and the founder's name to the business. So you can't even tell if they're a locally owned business anymore by this big investor. They go into a certain area, they buy up 2 or 3 or 4 different plumbing companies. And then when someone calls up and says, "Hey, I need service," they'll be like, "It's going to be a $200 service fee just to come and look at it." And they're like, "Whoa, wait a second. That's way too high." And they're like, "Well, yeah, we're pretty busy, so you can call somebody else, but don't expect to get the better rate." So you call somebody else, and that other person is owned by the same investment company. And when you ask them, they're like, yeah, it's going to be $200 just to come out and look at it. So they're artificially increasing prices because this one investment company has now bought 4 different plumbing companies in a city and is forcing rates up. And it goes into that whole you will own nothing and you'll be happy kind of mantra.
So I kind of wanted to iterate with your example there and kind of with what Ryan asked about tariffs. So the way I see it is we have to kind of, the economy is bifurcated. There's a large gap between the corporate workforce and then the private workforce and then like smaller domestic industries such as plumbing and the corporatization of that and things like that. Like the effect of the tariffs were effective because it spooked corporations, the mega corporations, the American mega corporations. You
don't even know. I said, sorry to interrupt, but I sat in quarterly meetings with our CEO, and every single time they bring up our earnings slide, it's always tariffs, And I'm like, oh, anyway, go ahead.
So it did spook them, which in that sense was effective. Now, for smaller businesses such as my company or Ryan's company, like I'm sympathetic of U.S. business owners trying to survive through this. I know a lot of businesses haven't survived through this, but in the long term, it's like how do we proceed? Like, how do we go on with this long term? And it's that actually the effects of smaller businesses and they offshoring to China is far less of a total effect on the economy than the total mass of large corporations. And I think the tariffs were more directly addressing that. And I just want to throw that out.
Yeah. Or the proletariat can seize the means of production and and take it back from that's a joke for those people that don't know. That's a very socialist communist which I do not believe. I am a capitalist, but at the same time, when my job was on the chopping block to be laid off because they were closing my facilities because the company wasn't quote unquote making enough money. I made a comment. I was like, no wonder these kids are freaking trying to be socialists, is because they see stuff like this happening. They see their parents losing their jobs because the company's more concerned about freaking profits over quality of life when it comes to the people who are actually making things happen. And so yeah, I can see why younger people will look at socialism and be like, this is kind of okay, but at the same time still a pure red-blooded American capitalist. I'll tell you what,
So all I heard was Mark's communism. Now that's all I heard. And the AK's now making
flip it.
Say now the AK's
Marxism.
You should start reading the Communist Manifesto, and we'll.
So he probably has it around here by his AKs somewhere.
I know, right?
First it's AKs, next it's Lenin. Lenin's wasn't a terrible idea.
Well, I see. Here's the thing, and I'm going to get in trouble here for saying this, but if you look into the Red Revolution, in 1917, and the Bolsheviks, going down and taking down the Tsar. If you just peel back the layer on who the Bolsheviks actually were, a lot of answers will be given to you there.
So. Go ahead, Ryan.
Actually, I got a question for Mark. When you watch the Disney movie Anastasia, who's the bad guy?
I don't know if I've actually ever even seen it, and I don't think that was a Disney movie.
Yeah, I think it's a DreamWorks. Maybe it's on Disney Plus. That's all I know.
Well, they own everything now. But
speaking of consumerism, yeah, they bought out Hulu, and then they're like, "Hey, we're just going to merge everything from Hulu on over."
Yeah,
but my Hulu's back when I had got it with a Facebook account back 6-7 years ago, and so I don't know how to access my Hulu anymore. It's Disney. Anyways, what were you going to say, guys?
I was going to say, you mentioned the YouTuber and those the kind of the careers that people are aspiring for. Even if we look at the careers that are out in the U.S., there's a lot of food and entertainment and leisure type businesses, there's a lot of people making a lot of money off of Airbnb, and like a lot of people talk about housing prices and, a shortage of affordable homes. And, I really think that a large part of that is because there's so many people sitting on 2, 3, 4 houses, and there's like Airbnb going on. And then you mix like white collar stuff where you just have like, my previous job where I'm, sitting at a keyboard in a cubicle making virtual servers for this company to process more data, or, it's not really actually making stuff. Like, it's not producing drones. It's not plumbing. It's not installing water heaters. It's not, raising cattle or feeding a local community. It's not, it's not real in a sense. And so it's all kind of fake money. It's not like real. You're not producing a good. And so when I say like, how do we fix this to where we're actually like onshoring manufacturing, you're going to have to take a workforce that is largely white collar, do nothing, and say, hey, you're going to make rivets, you're going to make screws, you're going to weld, you're going to install Hefe's water heater. So it's like, how would we even get there to be competitive with these countries that are really out producing us and taking all our IP?
You create incentives for high-tech industries first, and then you go downstream from that gradually. That's kind of the way I see it.
What do you mean?
So it's like, if I was starting a new business in the US, like I chose drones, I chose the defense industry because I wanted to do that, but also
and you live in
partially.
Huntsville, and that's where all that. That's about it. There.
Oh yeah, Huntsville's defense. It's just defense city here.
How far is Huntsville from Greenbow?
I don't even know where Greenbow is.
That's a joke.
Actually, the real question is, what side of the mountain do you live on? The actual Huntsville side?
Yeah, the actual Huntsville side.
Okay. The reason I ask is when my dad got out, he worked for a defense industry down there, but lived on the opposite side of the mountain, and I guess that was like a status thing. Like, oh, we live in Huntsville. We live on the other side of the mountain.
Yeah. I'm new here. I moved here in January, so
Okay, gotcha.
I'm kind of going on what Ryan was saying is like, I think that if you start a toaster factory, or if you start a let's say it's like a pencil factory, like I would think that's a poor decision to do in the current economic situation. Like, as much as we hate Google, Meta, Apple, like these companies being in the US first, the onshore manufacturing capabilities, onshore talent pools, and then from there slowly building out the onshore supply chain. Like, that's the way we gradually equalize the blue collar, white collar workforce. I think the offshoring has been just so dramatic that in this panic, we're thinking, oh my gosh, we can't even make screws in the US. We got to start a screw factory. Like, it's like there's got to be some patience and some kind of gradual reshoring and alignment of incentives. And kind of going back to the tariff thing, my hot take is that if I was a corporation, it would make sense to offshore. I think that's the decision that all industries, the more and more you see the actual money for it in the short term, it doesn't make sense to do it in the US. So we got to shift that incentive slowly so we don't take an economic shock and gradually turn it back. I think I feel like I'm in my own bubble in some ways. Like, I have a burning passion on disliking the CCP and disliking China, seeing it as a foreign adversary. But I am, after all, in the defense industry, which is probably, I would say, the only industry where the incentive is to onshore and do it in the US.
Well, I think that there's also a level that you have to force yourself to do that as well, because of that specific industry and the security built around it, right? So we made a comment off air about DJI, right? And I'm sure that DJI, obviously, if people don't know, that's from China. it's got software already baked in that it is tracking everything that you do with your little DJI drone, so as you're flying closer and closer to a military installation, per se, it's obviously tracking a lot of that. So you're not going to be able to, at least from what my layman point of view is, you're not going to be able to, outsource a lot of that production for the drones that you make. Is that a fair statement?
Can you elaborate on it?
So like you wouldn't be able to just be like, oh, I'm going to buy all of my software and electronic stuff from China and build my drones that turn around and sell to the US DoD, because that would
DOW.
Okay.
DOW.
Yeah. Department of War now.
Is it really?
Yeah, you haven't seen that, man?
Dude, I have been gone for like a month, man.
It's like the past 2 days they finally.
I saw a meme about it.
No, that's
no. We are the Department of War now. The Department of War.
I will allow it. So, but
obviously there's regulations for that. Like we can't use any major data transferring electronic chipsets from China. You can't manufacture the boards in China. Like there's regulations for that. So obviously in this particular industry, the idea is if like the conversations in the defense industry is, if we have a hot conflict with China, can we still supply this product to the DOW? Which is a very unique position that no other like corporation goes through, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my understanding, is that falls into the ITAR regulations. Is that correct?
Yeah, some parts of it are ITAR, but also there was a push within DOW they can't procure certain products with certain components from China. Rather than ITAR, it was more with operational security, and also just the supply chain was a big part of the conversation. So there's a lot of drone companies that are not able to win larger contracts with DOW simply because they don't have a secure supply chain in place.
Yeah. So let me ask you a very odd I'm going to kind of derail this here for a second, but seeing all of the footage that we're getting out of like Ukraine with drone warfare, like how massive of a hard on do you have watching a lot of that stuff, because of the field that you're in?
Oh, I watch all of that. I'm in some crazy Telegram and Signal channels. I follow all the Ukraine crazy graphic drone videos just to get a feeling on what's going on.
Yeah. It's weird because it's like 2018. I have a good friend who is a infantry officer and was telling me that they were gearing up for a deployment. The deployment eventually ended up falling apart. They didn't go. But one of the things that they were doing in their battle drills for convoy operations was react to drone. And I'm like, wait, what? React? And this is 2018. I was like, react to drone? What are you talking about? And they're like, oh yeah, a drone will stop an entire convoy from proceeding if they see it. And I'm like, why? Because it's filming you? And they're like, no, they'll strap a grenade to it and drop it on us. And I was like, no, that's not a thing. And they're like, no, seriously, it's a thing. And then here, fast forward just a few years later, and we get it in 4K now, and not only are we seeing these suicide drones coming in and destroying tanks, but then we also see the overhead cams of them dropping freaking mortar rounds into a shitter. It's like, oh my goodness, man, that it has turned into a fever dream for me. Because and I've told my son, he and I just went to dinner just a couple of weeks ago for his birthday, and just just having standard conversations, and one of the things popped up about Ukraine, and I was like, bro, I don't care if they try to draft you to go to Ukraine or something like that. I will protect you. You come to me. You're draft dodging. I don't want you to go to Ukraine because I cannot fathom what war is going to be like just in another 10 years,
So I got a taste of my own medicine. We were out with a particular unit, and they had they put me in the vehicle and then chased the vehicle with our company's drones. It was freaking terrifying. So, yeah.
Well, you build a good product.
Yeah.
I just saw like a thing. Wasn't like the whole like Greta Thunberg flotilla just hit by a drone attack?
I think they were getting like tracked by a drone. That
Yeah.
was actually kind of hilarious.
Yeah, I was watching. I just when I was heading over here, I just saw like there's one of the boats on fire, and then they said that drones are flying around. So the assumption was that one got hit by like a drone strike.
Greta.
Greta.
On DJI, so David, how much of the US do you think has been mapped by China via DJI drones?
So to answer that, 80% of the drones flying right now in the world are DJI.
Mm-hmm.
80%. So,
That's crazy.
and also, you have to understand that that DJI drones were specifically marketed toward mapping critical infrastructure, law enforcement use. The DOW still does use it, even though it can only be used for very specific training sets. So I can't give you a hard number, but I bet they've gotten a tremendous amount of valuable data.
You know what has mapped the United States more so than DJI?
Google.
No.
Weather balloons?
Pokemon Go.
Yeah, and then didn't they sell like the company
You okay over there? You having a stroke?
the company that owned it? So it was originally like another game. It was like a tagging game, and then they just put a Pokemon thing on front of it, and then they sold the entire like data set that they had to a Chinese company.
It was probably Pokemon Go.
Yeah, it was. No, it was the company was like Niantic. I can't remember what is that. Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah, but it was really interesting. I came across a reel they were talking about, and they're like, "Yeah, if we needed to map something, we would just put a whole bunch of,
Mewtwo's.
Yeah, I get whatever the hell I don't know." And here I am back in like, I would say probably
Niantic.
Yeah, okay. I would say probably 2020. My daughter, she had Pokemon Go, and she would just be like, "Hey, Dad, can we go for a drive?" And I'm just like, "What is this? 1984? Do I need to get a beer?"
Why are there all these like restricted area signs? No, don't worry. There's a really rare Pokemon in here. It'll totally be worth it.
All those like geolocation, like geo database apps, community apps are just so sketch. Strava was leaking basically secret bases, because guys would be exercising on base, running around the perimeter, and then on Strava, and they'll upload to Strava, and then on Strava you see like a guy ran a perfect rectangle in the middle of the desert somewhere in the Middle East.
Yeah, the middle of Siberia.
Yep. Also, China did an operation where they were shipping a bunch of free smart exercise watches to a bunch of random U.S. Army personnel. And there was like an internal warning within the Army because it would pair with like a Strava type app that's Chinese. And yeah, there's just crazy 5th gen war stuff happening right now.
Yeah, it's I think all this boils down to, and I love that you brought it up, Dave, is 5th generation warfare. I will go on a tangent about that, but I won't tonight, but I have plenty of times. Is a lot of what's happening right now is warfare, whether you like it or not. And it's I think the hard thing is everyone thinks when they think of warfare, they think of tanks and airplanes and, B-2 bombers maybe missing an Iranian nuclear site at one point in the night. But this is what warfare is slowly divulging into. It's information, it's manipulation, it's what China and Russia have done in this space is far. We were really good at it. until Russia and China got into the game. And now they just blow us out of the water when it comes to the information campaign. Like if you just look at just even like U.S. politics these days, where there's a potential that like a socialist is going to win the mayorship of New York City. Like if you would have said that 30, 40 years ago, people would have scoffed at you. Like, no, that would never happen in the U.S. And now it's we have Dearborn, Michigan police departments with Arabic writing on their police cars, and mayoral candidates promising, all the communist stuff, and everyone's buying into it. So
one of my hot takes for the night will be McCarthyism is good, actually.
I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's pretty generally accepted. It's actually, there's like actually, what was it? I remember reading this and thought that was hilarious. I want to say it was one of the amendments, and it literally was talking about like you have it's like a Congress shouldn't do this unless you're a communist. I cannot remember what it is off the top of my head now.
Throw you out of a helicopter.
We were egerly awaiting to hear.
I know. I wish I could.
What you were talking about that?
I'm going to ask ChatGPT because that's what I need to do now.
My question to everybody is how long? What's the over under on a war being broke out because a AI assassination attempt was successful? Like meaning that a foreign nation or even the United States uses AI video to depict an assassination that then launches us into a war. How long do you think that's going to take for something like that to happen?
I don't think that's going to happen.
You don't think so?
No.
I think that's unlikely. I think more of we're gonna see economic warfare go kinetic. Like it's like very.
Oh, we already have. That's
boring.
What Ukraine, Russia is all about.
Yeah, but I say great power conflict. I think like it's I don't think like I know this sounds insane. I don't think AI is really there yet. Like we build systems with artificial intelligence based targeting on the drone, and it's like this technology still, it's like the public perception of AI is way crazier than where it's actually at, in my personal opinion. I know like the deep fake stuff's getting crazy and stuff, but I think still the like actual force posturing still trumps over media influence on warfare. Like media will heavily influence warfare, but I don't think it's gonna spark the next conflict personally.
I don't think there's my take is that especially when it comes to like mass like global powers, there won't be a kinetic fight, because before the kinetic fight even happens, the informational societal fight would be won or lost. We tried it again. We talked about it earlier. The ideal behind the whole Shanghai zone was to not Schengen zone. The whole thing with Shanghai was we were playing this like 4D chess, like we make Shanghai this big capitalist society that is eventually going to turn China into a capitalist economy, and then they're not going to want to be communist anymore. And then it backfired on us, and so we kind of lost that like little battle in that fifth generational fight. And now, if you look at how much like this is starting back since like 2020, like how much like anti-American, pro-socialist, pro-Palestinian, pro whatever organization you have that is direct conflict with the U.S. society as a whole. That has like how much of that has grown in our culture. How is that? It's like a normal thing. Like I go to a porta potty in a park here in the middle of Kansas. I see like Palestinian protest signs on it. You're like, oh, that's kind of weird, but it's now a mainstream thing.
A lot of that you're saying right now. I mean, that's why I would put there's zero chance that it'll happen. Even if we assume the AI could do it, I don't think that there's any incentive to. So, to borrow the old adage, never interrupt your opponent or your enemy when he's making a mistake.
Sun Tzu.
I mean, we're sitting here like chopping our own head off. Like, why do they even have to intervene? And when you talk about the 5th generational warfare stuff, I think a lot of that's, from unrestricted warfare, from the 2 Chinese generals from 1999. And in unrestricted warfare, I mean, they wrote that 26 years ago. And we haven't done anything to mitigate any of the like grand blunders that they're writing about that we're doing and we're repeating. And like, we just keep racing down this path of destruction. Why would they try to go to a hot war with us? I mean, they don't even need to. Like, we're burning ourselves. So they can just sit back and let us light ourselves on fire.
Yeah, and I wasn't necessarily saying the United States in general. I was just making a point because I'm going to say, contrary to what everybody has said, is I firmly believe that within the next 10 years or less, AI will be used to launch some type of conflict, regardless of who it is. AI will be used to influence people to launch a military strike on somebody. And the reason why I say that is because I don't know if you guys know this or not, but over the weekend, Kansas State University played Army, and I was like one of the only guys in the section wearing an Army shirt, and I called it from the beginning. I said, Army's going to win this game. It wasn't looking too good, but Army sure did pull it out eventually. And so I'm kind of riding that high, which is why I'm calling it this way. But I firmly believe that AI will be used in the 5th generation warfare to manipulate people into believing certain things. I mean, I'm getting ads in my YouTube feed of people saying that, just this one little salt trick has, made my husband, 20 years younger again. And our sex life is so much better. And it's like, and you can look at this ad and you can tell that she's not reading. I mean, her mouth is not making those sounds. So it's not there yet. Give it 5 years, give it 10 years. I think it will be.
I'm curious about this. What's y'all's definition on AI? Like, Mark, seems like you're referring mainly to like deep fakes of AI.
Correct.
Audio.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I'm audio.
You're not
video.
talking about Skynet, right?
No. That's 15 years off. Within. But as much as I would love to, get into a hot war with Skynet, I don't think that would happen anytime soon, because I mean, here it is. We're in 2025 and we already have a derogatory name for robots, right?
Yeah, that's been absolutely hilarious. Like the amount of like racial slurs coming out for robots.
You dirty clankers. So, but that's my definition is utilizing deepfake utilizing AI voiceover and video for deepfakes to persuade people to do something. That's what I'm trying to get at.
This is probably controversial, but I think you might be right in like third world countries. Like,
yeah.
Like, I feel,
the president
like,
of Zimbabwe.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like, okay, everyone has limited internet access. They're not like up to date on things.
Ryan, don't you mean Rhodesia?
Hey, do not slander Rhodesia.
I mean, to be fair, you did earlier say you weren't specifically talking about America, but so
yeah,
but,
I mean, it could very well be. I mean, as much
and
as
it could have already happened, quite frankly.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe that little nick from the ear on Trump really wasn't a thing,
So I mean, you guys mentioned AI, and I think the scary thing about AI, there's some pretty good interviews on Sean Ryan's podcast that discusses some of this stuff. But in terms of AI, the AI race, I really see it as who has the most electricity. And there's an AI guy on Sean Ryan's podcast, and he's like, it's all about who has the most AIs. And I thought that was kind of a funny way to put it. And it's, pretty much, I think he's right, is he who has the most AIs wins. And so in order to power that, you have to have electricity.
Yep.
And so some of the stats on China with electricity is China has held the record for the most nuclear capacity under construction for the last 20 years. And then also in terms of nuclear power, China is 15 years ahead of the US with regard to nuclear power. And then in terms of the amount of electricity, China has for 2024 10,000 terawatt hours, and the US has 4,387 terawatt hours. So regardless of whether or not we can even comprehend what a terawatt hour is, I think it is important to say, China has almost 60% more power available to China than what we have in the US. And if we're talking about AI and whatever threats there may be or advancements that we may have in the next 10 or 15 years with AI and Skynet and all that stuff, China is right now at this time kind of more, they have the foundation to just eat our lunch with those things. And that's not a good thing.
That's bad, and they do, but they don't have the compute right now. That's
NVIDIA with Taiwan.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I mean, so like it's like, yeah, if they figure out the compute, then we're kind of screwed.
Yeah,
they're gonna figure out the compute.
And I will tell you that
they're gonna steal the compute.
I don't
actually
really
do.
Right.
I don't know the levels that the United States actually has to, ramp up their power generation. But what I can tell you is the subsidiary that came in to purchase the facility that I worked at that was closing, their product that they build are massive turbine generators. And while a normal generator set that a buddy of mine, he works for a company that rents generator sets out, and we're talking not these little tiny ones that you can just toss in the bed of your truck. We're talking large generator sets. They're usually like 2 megawatt hours or 2 megawatt capacity, whereas 2 gigawatt capacity is what it is. Whereas the ones that will be being built, is that words? I don't know. They're like 16 gigawatts of production. And the new employees that I've started talking to at my facility is they're saying that we have orders out to 2027 already. We haven't even started producing anything at this facility yet, and we already have production schedules built out through 2027 to build these massive turbine generator sets. And there are customers that are purchasing 10 at a time for one facility because of the energy usage that a lot of these servers and server compounds are using, which just I can't even wrap my head around. And now, David, you're talking about the capacity that China has too, which leads me to think, I kind of feel like the United States has to have a little bit more than that,
Well, I mean, I don't think we do. I think that China is kind of set up to kind of outpace us here. They're ahead of us. I mean, if we're both going the same speed and they're already 15 years ahead, they're just going to remain perpetually 15 years ahead. But my issue with some of when I hear about the turbines or spinning up a bunch of power in the US, who benefits from that? Is that just going to be used by Google and Zuckerberg and Facebook and, spin it up more AI deep fakes on TikTok for clicks? I mean, or does it actually lower my electric bill? Or does it help David pay less in electricity to make more drones?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is that power or that electricity actually turning into product, or is it just being turned into ones and zeros?
Where's the money at?
The money's all in the big seven. It's all in big tech.
Yeah. So, I mean, that answers your question, I guess.
My
answers both of our questions.
My hot take is like, as much as I hate it, we have to have Zuckerberg, Meta, Google, like reshore their efforts like that. So like before I worry about my electricity bill, like the necessary, like to deal with the devil is we need these guys to bring back their efforts outside of China back to the US. Like, because it's literally just, I'm not saying like I like what they do. It's more like I see it as a pool of resource. That's, you know, the total resource budget we have, and we have to physically bring it back here before we even worry about those things. And another thing I want to kind of tackle on AI is I hear AI a lot. Ironically, I'm a guy in the tech space, and like the question I ask a lot of people about the AI race and things like that is, what's the end product? What's like the end effect of it? Like, is it more chat GPTs? Because I don't think that's what we're talking about here. It's like, what we have more. Okay, let's say China has way more compute, way more power. They accelerate on AI. What exactly does that mean? Like outside of the hype train for AI?
I'll take a stab at that. I think it replaces a lot of military generals and military strategy. I think the end game for AI is a perfect StarCraft 2 machine. It can play StarCraft 2 all day long. And so that's where they're talking about running, you know, warfare simulations through AI and getting responses right away. I don't think it's some LLM, you know, chat GPT. We're spinning up a bunch of chat GPTs and we can ask it stupid questions that we should already all know the answers to. You know, I think it's actually like machine learning, algorithms, strategy development. They already, one of the AI models already came up with a theoretical new metal that's like super lightweight, stronger than any metallurgy that we have on Earth today. So, I mean, it's already kind of like coming. We're starting to see it kind of come up with stuff, but I just see it replacing things like generals on the battlefield or in war rooms, being able to do strategy and warfare, instantly respond to things because it can already calculate the moves on the battlefield and it can launch things or even launch drones. Like, why have a guy operate the drone when the AI can do it potentially better and, you know, with better flight control, with better precision, you know, stuff like that. That's where I think it's going. And in some ways, I think a lot of it's already there.
See, and I see it from a different perspective. I see it as AI replacing my job. So my job is I handle pricing for my company. So I'm constantly looking.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we've already started looking into it. We are using programs like Power BI to help collect a lot of data for us very, very quickly instead of doing it manually. So we're starting to see it slowly but surely. One of the projects that I was working on for the last couple of years now is to create basically a formula. So all we have to do is type in a weight and a capacity of a product, and it will spit out a price that is an alignment with not only the region, but the market and what similar products that we already produce is pricing so that we can make sure that obviously a smaller piece is priced lower than a higher piece. So that's already there. So you start creating AI to take over these jobs more and more and more. And then the question then becomes, who's controlling it? Who's in charge of that program? Obviously, it has to be a program? Is it going to be, something that Microsoft produces to help companies such as like SAP? We see SAP commercials for the beginning or during the Super Bowl, and people are like, what is SAP? I don't even know what that stuff is. Well, it's an ERP. An ERP is
my previous employer.
Yeah, right. So you're kind of familiar with it, but who controls SAP? Who's in charge of that? And what happens when whoever is in charge of all of these different programs, such as SAP, that is creating these AI products for companies to run their business? What happens if they just snap their finger and they turn it off? Or they hold them for ransom. Say, you're going to pay us more to continue to run this, or we're going to shut it off, and your business is just going to fall apart.
Here's the thing, like, I think that a known given is that software products will always continue to replace certain jobs. Like, that's just a never-ending trend. That's agreed on ground truth. I think everyone here agrees on. I think, like, where I kind of tried to see through the fog on the hype train of AI is ultimately the limitation of AI comes down to compute and total energy. So we're like always hardware constrained, and then essentially in the holistic view, whoever controls the unit of energy controls the AI, because you can't host software without hardware that's powered, that has electricity. And then the irony is that, like, to me, where it seems paradoxical is that we always say, oh, AI could mean this small country with very little resources, with 1/10 the military force, could hyper strategize and beat the US military. Like, these are like the things that we hear a lot, but it's like, it still comes down to actual hardware mass. So it still boils down to who has the industry, which is why I'm actually kind of less
who
concerned
has the industry.
Yeah. Well, China does currently.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But I'm saying AI is not like the end all be all determination on, who's going to win the long game.
But isn't it one of those things where, yes, it's not going to win the long game for like playing the perfect APM on StarCraft, but it's going to be, we can use AI to find, easier way to things to like you guys mentioned before, like that the new hyper strong lightweight metals. Like we're going to use AI to increase development of stuff we're already doing, or find new ways to build new products. Because if you say, hey, I'm looking for this is the items I have, how can I build X, Y, and Z? It's going to do that more efficiently than humans can.
Yeah. Well, the server farm in Uganda.
Yeah.
I mean, but then my question always is will it? Because current AI research is mainly focused on general intelligence.
Yes.
Who's gonna fix the context window issue? Because something that humans are inherently good at, and I don't see AI achieving in the next decade, is very good context windows.
Well, I see what I'm going to. The two things I have with AI is, one, what we have right now as a general consumer public is not what's out currently available out in the world. The big one is what's Google's new video maker that they just came out with.
I know, yeah.
But it makes an 8-second video. It takes several minutes to make an 8-second video. VO, thank you. That's what's available to the commercial public. What they have on backscene, we have no idea what everybody else what they have in the background. We could have something like I don't know if anyone reads Jack Carr here, but we could have something like Alice. They could already have something that is like Alice out there already, where it's essentially I think it's a nano computer or a nano supercomputer or whatever, running AI and having influence on a lot of different things that we have no idea. Because here's the general public, you're given Chat GPT 5, and you're like, wow, this is the greatest thing ever. I can do so much with this, when in reality there's so much more capability that's happening that we're just not privy to right now.
So David, I mean, for argument's sake, I'll grant you the argument that AI in its current form isn't something to be all worked up about. So I'll grant that. Okay. But I
Yep.
think there's some potential there. So if we say,
Oh yeah, for sure.
if we look at AI stuff and we're like, well, if it's like all about like kind of electricity and hardware and potentially people to install the hardware, it looks like China might be ahead of us. And then if we take it and look at it and like, okay, who can build more warships in a year? Well, it looks like China might be ahead of us. And we're like, okay, who can make the best CNC machines? It looks like China might be ahead of Switzerland. And then, I mean, you just go through this list from just capabilities. And then it's like, what on earth are we doing? And it looks like a lot of the reasons why we're losing is because we are implementing a lot of self-inflicted pain, whether it's like through regulation or the things that we're prioritizing. And I don't think unless there's a massive cultural shift that's going to change.
I think we have a unique resilience that no other nation has. I guess that's a strong belief I have.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm going to actually go derail everything. We got about 15 minutes left, and before we start on our next topic, we have a couple of things that I wanted to get into about with Hamre Forge and with K9 Defense. So we never really got to it. So exactly what do you do, Dave, like in the drone space? Sorry, I know we got on a tangent solving the world's problems, but so what is this exactly you do here? Like what's the business model and what can you offer people?
So we're crazy. We make tactical drones primarily for the U.S. military. We make variants of it that are fully open source to the public, and we also sell to the civilian market with much of the same capabilities. So we're kind of like the crazy small company in this space. So we focus on like semi-autonomous and autonomous drones. So we're not building like manually piloted Ukraine style FPV drones. We're not building $250,000 Group 2 air systems. We built something right in between, drones that can fly for an hour, get sensors on target, and deliver kinetic effects and neutralize threats.
Okay. And you say your big thing is DoD, and then I guess Ryan helps you with some of the laser powder magic of I can't remember.
Yeah,
what
so
carbon printing or whatever.
So kind of talking about supply chain, like we're very big on Western supply chain. So
Yep.
Our drone is 80% full Western supply chain, which is higher than a lot of companies will say their drones are made in the US. They're technically not. We have two major parts that come from a foreign adversary, which is the propeller and propeller connector, because they cost 10 times the price of the US. Aside from that, everything else is full Western supply chain, which I'm super proud of.
So,
and even those two components, we're slowly working with partners to onshore it. Aside from that, like the things like our motor mount and our arm brackets, yeah, we get them printed by Ryan. He does a absolutely phenomenal job. And the only reason why I found him is he reached out to me because I love guns. I'm kind of a big 2A proponent too. You could kind of see that in our business model. So that's how we got connected, and he's making excellent grips and also tactical drone parts. So
you can get you got drone parts from scratch from Ryan before I got a left-handed hook grip from him.
That's on Ryan. That's not on me.
That's pretty fox, man.
I have your left-hand LCR grip here.
No, thank you. No, I want it for a real revolver, not that thing.
Welcome to the big boy games. Grab that LCR.
Speaking of big boy games, when's the I know you want to announce it here first. When's the KNL frames coming out? grips coming
Oh,
out?
soon. I'm finishing up a run right now of AFR UCs, and then it's all K, L, and N. I actually just got a package today from Spiegel. I sent him some of the grips we made, and to kind of get his okay. And his only feedback was I had to move this one surface 0.0015 inches. So that was the only change. I had to make just a minor modification of 0.0015 inch. Otherwise, it's like full blown, 99.999% Spiegel.
Man, if you're only better, if you were only
Yeah,
better.
I know. I'm always missing the mark.
No,
I've
but
used
that's
so many providers and no one's beat Ryan's tolerance.
no.
Just throwing that out there.
We absolutely Brian. My only critique Brian has, he makes a product that's too good. Right now my main revolver I carry has his like Gen 1 grips, like the old 3D printed ones.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what we're calling like Gen 1, like OG grips. And it's like,
Yeah.
I would upgrade them, but they still work fantastically.
That's good.
They're fantastic. So it's like, what, I don't need to upgrade them, but I probably
not
should.
Is it like the car that you hate but that never breaks down?
It's not like that you hate it. It's just like it's here. It's like I can either splurge and get like the nicest and newest, or stick with old reliable, and because it works. It does everything it needs
That's
to do and
awesome.
more. So
No, that's awesome.
actually, I have it in my
appreciate it.
pocket right now.
That's great.
So
yeah, no, we I found David. He was talking about some stuff on X, formerly Twitter, and I just kind of like made a comment to one of his posts, and then he reached out over DM and he started asking all the right questions. He's like, do you generate your own nitrogen? And he's asking me about temperature specs and everything. I'm like, man, this guy knows stuff. This is like the type of guy that I'd want to make stuff for, because he seemed real knowledgeable. So we just kind of hit it off on there. And like he said, he's, kind of a pro 2A guy, and we have a lot of things in common. And so it's been great making stuff for David as well, and kind of seeing where he's taking it.
I'm like pro 2A and do crazy stuff. And then there's a lot of people in the, like, I'm trying to like the kind of, one of the things I wanted to do with K9 was like bridge between conventional big defense and then small arms with like high technology. And there's you get a lot of flack for that in the conventional defense industry, but I think we're hitting like a very specific niche, because drones are something that civilians can buy and like hyper augment their capability. Like, you basically now are tapping into the air domain as like a single guy. So
yeah, out of curiosity, what's the story behind the name K9 Defense?
So the story behind it was I love dogs, obviously.
Okay.
And also I wanted so many things in the drone or aerospace industry is like all like air or whatever, like like Greek goddesses or what, like it's so cliche. So I was like, what's something that markets itself where everyone asks what I do every time? And I chose that, and I kind of move on to that on like, dogs are still used in warfare because even as technology advanced, they've like adapted with humans. And like, I want to build tools. I want to build robots that can do that.
Okay. It's so this is what threw me off of, like, when I was talking with Ryan, he's like, yeah, this guy that makes drones K9 Defense. And I was like, that sounds like you train Belgian Malinois and sell it for like, 10 grand a dog. So I was curious where the name came from. It was like just a happenstance that it was like, there's 9K components in drones. We just did K9, or there's some unique thing. I just like dogs and I love it.
Well, I mean, I think David too, he has this picture that I really like. It's on his website and stuff, but it's this picture that it's subtitled "A Total Warfare Paradigm Shift," and he kind of shows like a Roman dude throwing a spear, and he has a dog next to him, and then there's like an archer, and he has a dog next to him, and then it moves, advancing in time to where now it's like there's a normal soldier in present day and age with a dog, but then like a robot dog and a drone. And so, I mean, when you think about it, drones are in a way taking the place of how we've used dogs as this extension of a human warfare capability. And dogs have been used for thousands of years in war. And now we're still using dogs, but now we're also adding the capability of a drone in a lot of the same ways that a dog is used.
There's also I love the total warfare paradigm shift, the kind of evolution chart I made. That's another thing on the name. Like there's a lot of meaning to it. Also, I'll throw it on this podcast exclusively. Which is there's also like a side of the rebellious side of me on so I started this company. It started in my bedroom. It was actually to hopefully get a job in the defense industry. I was a high school student at the time, and I wanted so bad to work at Anduril Industries or Lockheed Martin or whatever. Like I sent so many applications, they rejected me on all of them. And like I was building these drones
now.
Well, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start my own company, and I threw out these names, and then like the entrepreneurship people were like, you can't name it like this; it's not gonna market. I'm like, well, that's the perfect marketing thing. Like if it stands out, so I was like, I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna. I have this whole story behind why I think this is the coolest name, and that's kind of part of it too.
That's awesome.
That's
like, awesome.
Yeah, it's like its own unique marketing thing is you just name it something completely off. If you hear like Ares Defense or Skynet drone corporation, you're like, oh,
there's literally a company called Skynet for that builds drones. It's been taken.
Jokes on them.
What about Wyland Defense? Anybody? No, nobody. No.
We need to do what's
It's from the Aliens movies.
Alien, yeah. Wyland Industries or Wyland Corp or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Now we just need somebody getting into the AI and space tech and just name it Black Mesa, and everything will come to fruition.
To David's point with working with smaller manufacturers and stuff, I think too there is an advantage to being nimble. So trying to get a part change with Lockheed, it's like an act of Congress. And, David can like send me a file and then like 10 minutes later, hold on, don't run that one. Here's a new file. It's like, I can make adjustments like that. So it's harder with some of the bigger companies.
Yeah, I think that's go ahead.
I'm just saying it's a chain of just greatness with smaller, nimble companies. Ryan has that flexibility. I have that flexibility. So we don't go for like large program of records. We work with individual military units, deploy our hardware, and make real, like we take like soldering irons, crazy tools, and we've hacked solutions in the field with operators and just like built mission specific drones on the field for them. And a lot of times we outperform most competitors. So
I'm sorry. I was just trying to find that picture on your website. I see right here you have a transparency statement on your website. So 68% is U.S. source, 30% is Canadian, and 2% is offshore. Is that still?
Yep. We do have a transparency statement, which I don't think any other company has.
No, that's awesome, man.
And that's the public product. The products that we are about to come out with are crazier. Ryan might get it. I think Ryan already got a sneak. Did I'll send it to you after this.
Cool. Sweet.
So, all right. We're hitting at the 2-hour mark, gents.
Yep.
So we fixed world problems and talked about drones. Actually, we lightly touched drones, but we'd love to have you come back on, Dave, and talk more about drones, because that's one of the things that I really see that as a for everywhere from military to even some law enforcement capabilities. Drones are going to be it's going to be a new norm. I know there's big cities that are starting to do, and I think our department is going to start looking at it. And I'll talk to you more offline about it.
DFR.
Sorry, what?
DFR, drone first responder.
Yep. Where like the call goes out and the drone's en route already to do some aerial recon before we even get there. So, no, I think it's going to be the future. It's going to be interesting to see what happens next with it. So,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, David, thank you so much. We're definitely going to have you guys back on because I think we had, I would say,
we have a couple more world problems to solve.
Yeah, exactly. A pretty spirited
We
discussion.
actually ended up inconclusively, so we have to do this again.
Yes.
But as always, we like to dish it over to you guys to, just kind of once again let everybody know where they can find you. I'll have all of your information down in the description of these podcasts. But if you have any folksy wisdom that you want to throw out there to the Ethernet, you can do that as well. David, we'll start with you.
Let me think. Go build more American companies if you have a vision for it. And then where you can find me is at K9 Defense Tech. It's K9, not the word. You can find me on X, where we're most active, on Instagram, and then also you can check out our website at k9defense.tech.
We're done. All right. Ryan, over to you.
I'll go with folksy. I'll throw in a kind of a Stephen Wolf quote to say, promote the good, the true, and the beautiful. So I think we need some more of that in the U.S. and the world abroad. I can be found kind of all over the place under Hamre Forge. So Hamre, Hamre, Forge, Forge.
All right. Well, Hefe.
Since we were talking about McCarthy, carry the fire, you guys. That's it.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
I thought you were going to
Carry the goodness in the world.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to go with like, go find a communist and.
No, I mean you can go get him on fire too if you want.
Right.
Carry the fire and then burn a communist with it.
My little
Free
thing
helicopter ride.
My little thing is to go out and learn something new. Get out of your comfort zone. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, I am trying to learn how to wire a cabin. So that's going to be a project I'll be working on here pretty soon. So I'm going to
Stay tuned for more Instagram reels of him digging in the
holes
dirt.
in the dirt. Yeah. But there you guys have it. Thank you so much to Ryan and David for swinging by and hanging out with us. And we will get on out of here. And don't forget to live, laugh, and LARP. Take it easy, guys.
Thank you. Bye.